Now that marijuana is legal in Massachusetts, what does that mean for your health, family, and community? Newton Wellesley Hospital in the city of Newton held a forum sharing the facts, the effects, treatment, and research from experts. Matthew Ferris has more from the evening.
I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. This is going to be a very cool event. And we have amazing speakers, and we'll be introducing them all to you.
On Wednesday, September 18th, Newton Wellesley Hospital hosted a free event at Shipley Auditorium to discuss the legalization of marijuana and what it means for your health, family, and community. 5 experts led the forum and discussed the facts about cannabis. Each expert specialized in certain topics that included the effects of cannabis on young adults, treatment approaches for cannabis use disorder, research on medical and recreation cannabis, and regulation and safety. Expert panelist Dr. Katarina Armstrong opened up the event by outlining the discussion topics and providing the audience with the facts about marijuana to set the tone of the forum.
Now, cannabis use disorder is a term that we put the word cannabis into, but it's used by DSM-5 criteria, which is the criteria we use in psychiatry for diagnosing use disorders. And we insert cannabis use disorder, which could also be opioid use disorder, alcohol use disorder. Right now, what we're talking about by this criteria is cannabis use disorder. This is a long list, and it includes the following, and it does not need to include all of this to meet criteria for cannabis use disorder.
Dr. Randy Schuster continued the forum by leading a discussion on why cannabis use is so prevalent in young adults. She then went on to discuss how it may be affecting the adolescent community and how you can take an approach to reduce harm.
Academic performance and worse psychiatric well-being. All right, number 5. As mentioned before, the cannabis that our kids are being exposed to is far more potent than in prior decades. We also see novel forms of THC delivery are the new norm. So I talk to kids every day who are telling me that it is just so easy for them to use at school now. What are things that you can do to reduce harm? So just very briefly, encouraging delaying onset of use. Every year that somebody can put off using, we think will improve outcomes.
So I'm a child psychologist by training. So I work every day with teens and young adults with substance use disorders.
Dr. James McCowan followed Schuster and went on to strengthen her points by going into greater detail on what it takes to treat cannabis use disorder in adolescents on a daily basis.
So the problem with teens, right, is many of them don't see this as a problem. If they do see it as a problem, they tend to want to solve it themselves, and that's very developmental. And so that's a huge piece of working with teens, is thinking developmentally where they're at. So we use motivational interviewing, ACRO, which is a state-supported flexible manualized treatment that came out of the cannabis youth trials, which is a large study looking at teenagers with substance use. We use that. The state's supporting lots of treatment programs using this protocol. We use what's called CRAFT, which is Community Reinforcement Family Training. We've been trained in this through the developer, Bob Myers. It helps parents learn and empower them with knowledge. That's key. So it's great if you're a parent here tonight. That's excellent. We help them build a plan, how to respond if their teen comes home high. What do they do if they notice $20 is missing or their credit card? How to think practically and how to respond. We help them with communication. Many parents are stuck in sort of cycles of really poor communication. They're frustrated.
The tone of the discussion changed when Dr. Benjamin Kaplan and Dr. Alan Balsam took the podium. They both went on to discuss the positives and practicality of medical marijuana use.
We hear through most of these harm reduction. We want to reduce harm for our adolescents. The presumption is that cannabis is bad. I don't know if that's a fair presumption. If you think about our culture, how many kids do you know are sleep deprived, stressed out of their minds, overburdened? Is this good? Maybe we should have a more open-minded perspective about it.
When I was listening to the first 3 presentations, I was feeling, I'm going to get up and be the skunk at the garden party. But I don't have to worry about that. Kaplan already did it. My history is I support medical cannabis. I have for 30 years. The reason I support it is because I founded with others a group called Community Servings, and we began a program to serve folks with AIDS, with meals. And in the course of that, working with patients, I got to know people who were using cannabis in order to treat the symptoms of their disease. And I became convinced that people should not have to break the law in order to get relief from disease and from pain and from all of the other side effects.
After the expert-led discussions, the panel took questions from the audience to respond to any concerns or thoughts that may have not been addressed during the lectures.
And if there's any evidence that it can actually help with some of the symptoms of ADHD.
So I don't know of the longitudinal data in terms of using.
The event wrapped up with the panel Q&A, and the audience was given information on where they can go to seek help regarding cannabis-related health issues. Matthew Ferris, Newton News, Lower Falls.